Peter O'Brien. So what does music mean to you in your life?
Music is life. Music and film, that's really, aside from my family, it's music and film. That's all I care about.
And how did you take that and connect it to this? How did you?
Pretty obvious.
But there's a lot of bands, a lot of music. Why this?
Why Riphouse?
Sure.
I'm from Congers.
Got it.
Riphouse is from Congers. And when I was about 13, so after the band was over, I had heard them like in 1996 was when I first heard them. And at that point, music came from New York, LA, or Seattle. It didn't come from your hometown. So to me, it's like, these guys went to my elementary school and went to my high school, and it doesn't matter where you come from, it matters what you do. And I learned that from Riphouse, and I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for them.
So when you started this process, did you think it was going to be fast or easy? And was it fast or easy?
No and no. No, I did a version of this film in 2007, 2008, and that was pretty fast. I did it like 11 months, and I went to all these places, and I talked to like 50 people, and I found all this footage and churned it out, and we had a screening, and it was great. But then around 2015, I went and looked at it, and I was like, couldn't look at it. I wasn't happy, I wasn't satisfied, and I felt like I owed it to the band to give them my best work. So I started brainstorming like everything I wanted to do that I didn't get to do because I was a student at the time of the first one. They're like, oh, it'd be great to have aerial shots of Congers, but nobody was paying for me to go up in a helicopter. But now I have a drone, so I can go get aerial shots, and I wanted to have animation to fill in some of the blanks and all these things that I couldn't do then that I could do now because I had been working and continuing to make films. So in 2015, I had started brainstorming again and getting the ball rolling and getting some interviews with some bigger names because I wanted to parallel the Riphouse story with other actual bands who did make it from that time that started out in the same scene and the same situation, the same circumstances. And but Riphouse, the members, they never really released their music. So then it became like, well, I'm not going to make a documentary about a band nobody can hear, guys. So let's get that ball going. And it's really hard to get everybody together on the same page. So finally, in 2019, we got everything released. And then it was like, pedal to the metal. 4 days away from finishing filming, the pandemic happened. And that shut me down for 2 years. So for 2 years, I was just thinking, okay. And then finally it got to a point, I was like, all right, well, I don't think COVID's going away, so I gotta get back on track. So I did my days, got the rest of my footage, and then it took me about 6 months, I think, to edit it, which is long for me. Everything else I've ever edited was done like inside of a month, but I didn't want to rush it, and I wanted it to happen, I wanted to give them my best, and I feel like I did it this time.
So we're not going to see another version of this in 2032 or something.
No, this is it.
Every 7 years.
I hope you liked it.
The funeral version.
Yeah.
The funeral version.
Is there anything that you wanted in here that you just couldn't get or couldn't find?
Oh, sure. I mean, I trade it all for a little bit more. Yeah, that'd be great.
What's the shot that you're missing that you would love? The interview or the
interview.
What would you love?
I would love to talk to John Elliott.
There you go, Pete.
I can see how that would be dig. I could also see that you can't really wait for that.
Nope.
That's not going to happen. But I think you did a nice job making it feel like we heard from you.
Yeah, well, and that was something else that came about in this this version. Originally I had material. I tried to put it in there, but then subsequently, as I was brainstorming and reaching out, I found John's ex-girlfriend Jamie, who is a godsend, and she gave me all these pictures and all these additional stories and all this extra material. And then I was going through some other stuff that I had, and I found that audio interview and John's section talking about it and just how poignant it was. And I really love at the end when like you get to hear like his like impersonation about South Humans. You know, it's like you get a sense of John's humor in that. You get to hear him laugh. So he's there.
So how closely did you work with the other members of the band as you finished this up?
Well,
Did they see it while you were working on it, or
No.
kind of afterwards?
No, the first version they had seen along the way, but this time I moved 1,300 miles away just so they couldn't see it. I currently live in Lincoln, Nebraska. I'm from Yonkers, but I currently live in Nebraska, and so that was another kind of little bone of contention with the other one. There were like too many hands in the pot, too many cooks in the kitchen, and so this time that's why like my name's above the title, because this is my telling of their story. This isn't their telling of the story. This is what I perceived from 16 years of research and relationship building and archiving and just...
And personal connection.
Yeah, yeah.
So what do you guys think? Questions for Peter? Nothing?
Don't
Keep
be
going.
shy.
There.
How much archival footage could you use? Did you use it all, or was there?
Oh no, there's tons. When I first started, Jim DeMaria, the drummer, he had
Stand up, Jim.
emails and phone calls. I think he gave me about 10 shows, and through emails and phone calls, I was able to pretty much double it. So I have about 20 full Riphouse concerts, and then, just through the process, and then when I came back to it, I got a lot more pictures of the band. One great thing though was Joe Galvin, the guitar player. He found his father's.
Stand up, Joe.
He found his father's 50th birthday party, and that's the only live performance of Speed Metal Blues. That's where the footage of Joe and Mike with the acoustic guitars came from. That was a house party that they had, and his younger brother was just roaming around, and he got some magic. So I was able to incorporate that and just give a little bit more of like an intimate look at the band, not on stage, but just two guys sitting around, like the behind the scenes of the band. So a lot of footage came about over the years, but again, treat it all for a little bit more.
You had a question?
Yeah, stylistically, I was wondering what the thought process was behind not showing the band members being interviewed.
Yeah, no, and that's a great question. I had thought about it, and in the original version, I did show the band's interviews, but as I was looking at the material I had, and I watch a lot of documentaries. I mean, I watch a lot of films, but I watch a lot of documentaries, and I watch a lot of music documentaries. And one of my favorite music documentaries is The Filth and the Fury, which is a Sex Pistols documentary. And in that documentary, they're in silhouette. And that got me thinking, like, yeah, because if you see the band now, like if you see, I mean, you can see it right there, there's Jimmy and Joe. But if you see the band now telling the story, it takes you out of the time. It takes you out of the moment. And so if I'm telling you a story, you're creating a picture in your mind of these words. And so now, by not showing the band, I just wanted to keep the audience in that moment, in that time. Because if I cut from, Joe looking like the Incredible Hulk shredding to Joe now, it's a very different sight. and you're not there anymore. You're not in the crowd, Riphouse. So that was partly the idea behind it. Plus, then I could use a lot more footage, and I could utilize a lot of that footage and that material that I had collected.
Smart. Other questions? So, was it a problem there's a lot of music in this.
Yes.
Did you have to clear all that and figure all that out and get permission?
Because they never signed to Grudge Records, they still have the rights. And so
Easier.
we're all good.
That's great. Would you like do some sort of companion piece that the guys, and you put out like an album of this and give people access to it, not just visually, but from an audio point of view as well?
I mean, all of their material is currently available. That was one thing that was one of the roadblocks that we overcame in 2019. Everything has been released, so you can go onto Spotify, you can go to Apple, you can go wherever you stream or download digital music, you will find Riphouse, and there's some other stuff on YouTube as well. I'm working on, there are some piano renditions of their songs in the film, and I'm working with the pianist, who is my wife, to...
Was she here?
No, she's back in
Don't
Nebraska.
Stand up in Nebraska.
Yeah, but she did a handful of songs for the film, and then she's going to maybe do a handful more, and I'd like to release that as, you know, Louise Lynch ripping the house.
Nice.
Yeah.
So, what's next for you? Because this was since 2007?
Yeah. The day I met Jim was like February 28th, 2007.
Did you meet him to talk about this?
Yes. Yes.
So from that moment you were going.
That was it. Yeah, well, the week before, my brother, who's over there, he took me over to a friend of ours, and this is the friend who introduced me to Riphouse. His name is Sean Magaletta, and he had the cassette tapes, and so that's how I first discovered Riphouse, was through Sean. And we went over there to watch a movie. We went over there and we watched The Ninth Configuration. If you've ever seen it, you know what's up. But before that, he was like, hey, yeah, I got some Riphouse videos. You want to see Riphouse videos? I said, yeah, I want to see Riphouse videos. I used to trade bootleg concerts in high school. Like, that's my thing. You know, like, of course I want to see live footage of this band that I've only ever heard, you know? So he showed me, I was like, and everything was like, it was recorded correctly in SP, you know? So the quality was there. I was like, we could really do something with this material. And so then a meeting was arranged with Jim, and then a week or so later, Joe came over to Sean's, and we just started going through everything and following leads. And the first interview was in the high school band that covered Riphouse. The little guy with the shaved head and the high voice, that's Josh Shearer, and he was up in Boston, and he was the first interview in March of 2007, so the span.
You're 17 years later.
Here we are.
So what's the next one for the next 15 or so years?
Oh no, I mean, I've done for two features in between. Misery Loves Company in 2012 and Running Through Darkness in 2018, so 6 years.
Okay.
My 12, 18, 24, so in 2030.
Were those documentaries too?
No, those were narrative features. And then there's short films mixed in there and other short documentaries and music videos and things. 'Cause like I said, aside from my family, it's all I care about.
Music and movies.
Music and movies. So.
Last call for, yes.
Why don't you tell us a word about how you had to track Clancy down to reproduce?
So you'll notice that Mike Clancy is not here tonight, and the reason he's not here is nothing personal. He has been battling cancer, but he's on the other side of it, and things are looking good. But Clancy is also a bit of a recluse. You may have picked it up from the film. He kind of marches to his own beat, and he's not going to be told what to do. And if you ask him, maybe you might get some pull. You might recall the Grudge Records animation. So I met Jimmy, I met Joe. I wasn't going to meet John, unfortunately, and that leaves Mike. Mike at the time was living in a basement apartment in Rockland Lake, like a hermit, and he didn't want to be bothered with Riphouse. He had done with Riphouse. That's behind him, and it's Jesus, and that's it. So one day I went to a show with Joe, and he had been talking to Mike because they're still friends. And he had invited Mike to this show. It was for Joe's guitar teacher at the time, because Joe, he still takes lessons, because you can always do better. And I see this guy walk by with this like big bushy head of hair, and it was like a Sasquatch sight. I'm turning to my girlfriend. I was like, that's Clancy, because at this point I had only seen footage of him, and I had heard from a lot of people who knew him. I had never met him, seen him in the flesh. So after the show, because I was hired to film the show, I went over and I talked to him, and Mike, you clear your schedule, because he will just talk until the sun goes down. And that's what happened. I ambushed him at his house one day, because Joe showed me where he lives. And he was going out to buy smokes, because at the time he was a smoker. And from like noon to 8 p.m., we just stood in front of his house and talked. And I never seen him smoke another cigarette after that, so I'm going to take credit for him quitting smoking. But during that 8-hour conversation, he got to know me, I got to know him better, and I won him over, where he's like, okay man, I'll do the interview, whatever you need for this film, because you're the guy. And that was it. If I didn't have Mike, there'd be no film, because he's the glue.
Right. Cool.
Did you ever play in any bands or play at any of the same stages as Riphouse?
Oh, as a matter of fact, yes. When I was in high school, Clarkstown High School North, in New City, New York, Rams, I was in a band called Project Mayhem with this guy named Ed Norrie and David Livingston and Kevin Rankin. And we played a couple of high school town
Whatever happened to
shows.
Kevin Rankin?
I don't know. We just fell
What
off the
years
map.
was that?
Huh?
What years were you playing?
That was 2000, 2001. I graduated in 01. And, they were a year behind me. But yeah, so got to play the same stage as Riphouse.
Anyone who didn't go to high school with that, another question?
Yes, sir.
The house that gets ripped apart, is that based on a real house or anything? And how'd you rip it apart?
Or just how do you get the idea to put this little house?
Right, that was another thing that came about in the revision. I call it a renovation, but I was like, you know what? The band is called Riphouse. Wouldn't it be cool to see a house rip apart? Because the band also has this whole theme of family and ripped houses, and so when the band breaks apart, it's like that's what better visual could you concoct? So I used to work at the College of Architecture at University of Nebraska-Lincoln, and I know a few architects who are really, really good model makers. And I went to a couple of them and I said, hey, I'm working on this project and I want this house and I want it to be able to rip apart. I want all these irregular angles and I want it to look, like this. And so I drew him a sketch of the house and I gave him a house to model it off. And so it's kind of based on Clancy's house in Congers, but it's an amalgamation of houses. So it's inspired by that, but it's not like an exact replica of that. But I also said, I gotta have a basement window so I can put a light in there because that's where they jam, that's where they play, that's where Mike is, affectionately known as Basement Boy. And that's just how it goes. So, and did I answer it?
Yep.
Then you shot it outside, so there were trees behind it?
The nighttime stuff was shot in my office in Lincoln because it's dark, and so we could do that. But the daytime stuff I did on my back deck, and I put the fence up and I made like a forced perspective kind of a thing. But yeah, that was shot outside. And,
That's cool.
yeah, thank you.
Yes.
How did you shoot the fires?
The fire scene. So we had the model, and I knew okay, yeah, we're going to go in onto the shot of the picture of the band. Yeah. So I took that shot from the model, and then I rebuilt it full scale, 1-to-1 in my garage, and then I lit it on fire. I did a few practice runs, and The thing about fire is, what's that? Oh, yeah. Well, she was helping me ignite it along with my neighbor. I went down the street and pulled one of my neighbors in. I was like, "Hey man, can you just hold this lighter here and just when I say go, just light that up?" And it's rubbing alcohol. It burns off. I wasn't using gasoline. I'm not psychotic. But years of playing with fire, you learn a few things. So I like to employ it because it's production value, which is what you want in a no-budget documentary about a band nobody's ever heard of.
But the people will remember now because what was burning the garage down?
Yes. House.
Full house, small house. Is there another hand? All right then. It's Friday night, it's 10 o'clock. Some of you are old and don't drink, like me, you're going to go home and go to sleep. But some of you, if you want to go out, the film festival's having a party right over there on the other side of that post office. So you can feel free to join us. There's a band playing over there. They're no Riphouse, let me tell you. They're okay, but they're not you guys. But if you want to sit in, they'll probably let you. They're going to run out of material about now. So they're only in their 30s. But the fact that you made this, it took so long, we appreciate it. We appreciate that you came all the way back from Nebraska.
I appreciate just being worked into the schedule and accepted. You know,
Listen, without you, it'd just be me and them sitting in the dark room.
wow.
So I mean, you did all the work. We just sat in.
Yeah.
So thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, guys. Thank you for coming out. Thank you for supporting independent documentaries. You can see it takes forever and it needs your support, otherwise don't make some. All right, with that, get home safe. Party Yonkers Brewing Company if you want. Otherwise, come up and chat.
I'll be here.